Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first RedCubed podcast. I'm HiBoy.
I'm Mogswamp.
And I'm Poet.
Hi.
And welcome. We did not rehearse that.
That's about as far as we rehearsed. Now we have no idea what we're going to talk about.
Completely raw.
Yeah.
RedCubed in the raw.
RedCubed in the raw.
The topics, but I think mostly we're probably going to go off topic a lot, and that's kind of the fun about a podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe do you guys want to talk about like podcasting in general? Why we want to do a podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's a good question. Why do you guys want to do a podcast?
Well, I've always wanted to do a podcast.
Me too.
I think there's so much to talk about, like in your videos, that I find that most of the time when I'm talking in, like, especially my RedCubed series, which is kind of my talky series, I end up just walking around in circles in the RedCubed world and not actually doing anything. It would be much better if I could just talk in a podcast without having to,
without having some sort of obligation to visually entertain people.
My focus doesn't exist. I don't have focus. And so, like, to talk about something that means something to me and then also be doing another thing like, oh, I'm going to build this structure that makes sense. No, that's not going to happen. So, yeah, that's, for me, a podcast has always been something that I've wanted to do just to get a lot off my chest and stuff like that. So,
Well, and I don't know if did you guys watch the podcasting panel at Minecon or?
No.
I slept in.
Yeah, mostly because I didn't go.
Well, I didn't actually visit that specific panel, but I did watch it online, and they had a lot of interesting points about podcasting. And the Minecraft guys were there, and The Shaft is a huge podcast for Minecraft.
Yes. I love The Shaft.
Yeah, they had a lot to say about where podcasting is heading and stuff, and sort of how it's going away from iPods, which it was originally podcasting, right? So Apple is no longer the huge supporter of podcasting, and so where is it going to move from here? There's no real platform for it, right?
Yeah.
So like there's AdSense, there's a million partnerships you can get for YouTube, but where are the podcasting partnerships, or how do you fund your podcast? So
we should start a company.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I agree with that completely, because Apple does have some apps that they promote specifically for finding podcasts.
Yeah.
And listening to podcasts. But I don't know how like the back end works, where you are a person who does a podcast. How do you get paid for what you do? Are these like specific to uploading your stuff to iTunes? Or what?
And where's the opportunity to advertise someone else's product? Like, do you inlay audio ads, or do you drop things? Product.
There needs
endorsed
to be.
Products?
Yeah, there needs to be kind of a similar medium to YouTube for podcasters. Call it PodTube or something.
Whoa.
And just kind of go out and have a company like YouTube does right now that'll go out and find those advertisers, have an advertisement medium, so that advertisers can come to you and say, yes, we want to, have a sponsored shout out on your podcast, or, they could even digitalize it like in a way where you're talking and then like it'll cut in an ad and then go back to talking or something like that.
Right.
That's interesting.
There are ways of doing it. It's funny that nobody's really. I wonder if podcasting is a dying art.
The thing is, like, podcasts are so hard to like gauge success, because, like, if you look at The Shaft, they only get a couple thousand views on their YouTube videos.
Right.
But if you go to their iTunes statistics, like, their 100th episode had over 1 million downloads.
Right.
So it's really hard to gauge success from the public. And I think that's kind of why companies haven't really stepped in that direction yet. It's because it's hard to tell which podcasts are successful.
Right. So I'm a fan of the kids show Gravity Falls, and so my real first experience, serious experience with podcasts was listening to those guys, because I'd listened to podcasts in the past, but never so regularly. And they are using Tumblr as a platform. So,
Really? That's interesting.
they use iTunes, but their main medium for getting their stuff out there is Tumblr. Because how do you find their podcast on iTunes unless you're specifically searching for it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and if you look at like channels like The Shaft, they stream their stuff like live in front of people, and then they upload it onto YouTube. So it's going to be kind of crazy how podcasts get their stuff out now. It's going to be harder.
Right. And now that we're entering the scene, it's going to be interesting to see how things play out.
Yeah, I really don't know. Like, I don't think this will be a specifically Minecraft-related podcast. I mean, that's obviously going to be a big topic because we all do that a lot. But I don't know. And it is RedCubed, which is a Minecraft server.
Yeah.
Right.
But not necessarily all Minecraft-related stuff. I don't know if that'll have an effect or, It's hard to say. Like, should we have a theme that we go on? Like, should it be like gaming podcast? Should it be Minecraft podcast? Should it be, just up in the air podcast? I don't know. So that's
this
kind
is
of
all stuff that,
I think maybe it'll sort of define itself as we do it.
Oh yeah.
What we're interested in will show itself and bring itself.
Yeah, and
to
we'll
the
just
top.
do that thing that we like more.
Yeah.
Well, to segue, we are your regulars. So, Poet, Mogswamp, and I will be in pretty much every single RedCube podcast.
Try to be, yeah.
And hopefully, unless we
Once
die.
we get a schedule.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cycle through RedCube members. So there will be guests, hopefully every week, that will be able to hop in and spread
and maybe some somewhat regular guests as well,
Yeah, definitely.
If someone wants to appear more than once, it's...
Well, yeah,
Sorry.
we're not gonna... I'm pretty certain that we're going to have a situation where we're going to have to go to certain guests several times, so let's not put that off the table right now. No.
Yeah.
Based on,
Gotta
who's
have
available.
multiple guests and multiple appearances of guests.
Yeah, so let's move on to our first topic since we've talked long
get
enough
to it.
about our podcastiness.
Enough about us.
No. So our first topic is games you're excited about playing.
Yeah, I was the one who suggested this topic at first because I was just looking at, and this is kind of, I don't know how you guys find games that you want to play. The most dangerous thing for me are there's two things really. Well, no, I'll say three things actually. I thought about. Okay, so there's three dangerous things for me and games because I tend to do this a lot. I buy a game and then I never play it, but I intend to play it. But I mean that's a different topic. The way that I find games, number one, is logging into Steam.
Right.
Now, I don't log into Steam very often. I do it maybe once a month.
Really?
Maybe once every 2 months. I don't play Steam games. I don't have the time. But when I log into Steam and I see, like, you're instantly hit with a bunch of cool-looking games, wicked-looking games, and they're really cheap, and I'm thinking, I gotta get this game. And then, like, I will be wanting to play something, and I'll have spent 20, 30 minutes looking at other games to buy. Second is Humble Bundle.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I get those emails. The second that a Humble Bundle comes out, I'm on their page looking. The Warner Brothers one that they've got out right this second with all the different Arkham games and
That
the
looks
Lord of the
so
Rings
good.
games.
Oh, man.
I admit it. I bought it. And I probably won't play. I already owned all the Arkham games, so it's kind of like I bought this $4 thing because it had the Mortal Kombat collection in it. And I mean, that was like, I'm excited about playing that right now. Is the Mortal Kombat collection because that is my, like, I grew up through high school and stuff playing Mortal Kombat with friends. That was like the game of the time, and so I'm excited to play that again. And the third one is the YouTube main screen. When I log into YouTube and I look at like the home screen feed. And I see other games that people are playing, that's dangerous. Like, I just saw like the Stanley Parable I've been wanting to play because of a lot of people.
You
Yeah,
know,
me,
playing
myself
it.
included.
Jake
Yeah.
actually knows a guy who is trying to make a Stanley Parable mod. I guess who's voicing the narrator? The guy
Jake?
from Stanley Parable. No, it's me.
Oh. We
Yeah.
were just silent. Like,
know.
is it Jay?
So yeah, I'm gonna be doing that. So that's kind of exciting.
Cool.
But
Cool, it's
Poet,
awesome. Yeah.
what games are you interested
Well,
in
the,
at the
the
moment?
Stanley Parable number
Mhm.
1 is kind of one that I've wanted to play. I was talking with a few people the other day. We were just talking about this when we were recording, and someone said, "Oh, that game is horrible." Others, it's really awesome. I want to see myself. I've seen people play it, and it looks really interesting to me.
Mhm.
So I want to just check it out, see if I like it. The second one that I'm really excited about right now is called "Sir, You Are Being Hunted."
Huh.
The one where
Oh
kind of
yes,
first-
I've heard of that one.
I've
it's a
never
first
heard of that game before.
I saw it on Steam yesterday, and I'm seeing a whole bunch of videos for it now. I guess there's some kind of an analytic that tells it like, "Hey, look, Poet was looking up this game. Show him all the videos for it now." So I'm like seeing videos of it all around, and it's basically a game where it's a first-person survival against robots that hunt humans.
Whoa.
So I really like that kind of concept. Really
Mhm.
cool. And I don't know. There's this new, what's it called? Trove, I think, is a Cube World clone. Like it is literally Cube World. It is Cube World.
Uh-huh.
They ripped it off. They stole it, and I'm fairly certain that they could be sued because of how similar it is. But they added some cell shading graphics, and I mean, if it gets updated, because Cube World isn't.
Well, Wooly
I'd-
said that he's working on it, actually.
Yeah. Everybody says they're working on it.
Cube World was a big anti-climatic experience.
Because, like, and this is the biggest thing about Cube World.
Uh-huh.
This is getting off topic, but I was following Cube World for like 2 or 3 years, like
too,
from
yeah.
day one, like really far into the development. I was following it, and they had lots of really cool features. Do you remember the building feature that they had?
Oh, yeah.
That they,
Yeah.
Like that was looking at the building of houses and stuff was super excited. Like I was just like I can't wait to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cube World releases, although it's in alpha or beta or whatever it is,
Right.
It's in
And
alpha, yeah.
can't do any of that kind of stuff yet.
Well,
it's
and
just-
that's the thing about these alpha and beta releases, and sort of Minecraft started a trend here, and
Yes.
you know it's up to you to decide whether this trend is good or bad. But it almost becomes an
Right.
excuse for a game developer to release a game that's not finished,
Yeah.
and then make a whole bunch of money off it, and then does the game developer has to have that integrity to finish the game and
Yeah.
make
Yes.
it
Yes.
what he originally wanted it to be, and that's the problem with these
you make
with
a
these
really good
releases.
You make a really good point. I mean, there's two sides to it. Number one is that getting in. This is going back because I was in game development for a long time, going back even into the 90s, late 90s.
Right.
And game development back then, to get into a beta test of something
Yeah.
was something that only beta testers, like you, that would be your profession
Yeah.
Right.
to do. Like you had to apply for a job to beta test a game for a company, and then you would actually have to go through a checklist. And I've done these checklists before.
And it's
As
not
basically-
fun too, like people think
No.
it is. You
Yeah, it's
go
very
through, you play the
serious.
same
It's a
game
quality
again and again.
test where you test different aspects of it following a checklist, and it's the most boring checklist because you've done it all. If you've played the game for any amount of time, you've done it all, but you have to still go through all the things and comment on what you've seen. And like it's just so dull and mind numbing. But that was a beta test. That's how you did it.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's become. I feel like games are releasing much earlier than they should,
Yeah.
and the excuse is, well, it's still in beta. No, it's not in beta. Not if it's released to the public.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a crappy game that you're currently developing still.
'Cause-
Like that's not necessarily a beta.
Yeah.
People are getting the wrong opinion of beta and alpha and all that.
I think what
But-
made Minecraft unique was the fact that it was so consistently updated that you can buy the game knowing that its potential was going to far outweigh whatever was given to you at that time.
Right.
But what happens is when you like take a game like Cube World and your defense for it is potential, but you don't see that progress as happening like Minecraft did in its alpha stages. I mean, Notch updated every Friday, you know,
Right.
like it was always something new.
And I mean, there's still new forks in their code all the time,
Yeah,
constantly.
exactly.
It's always updating. Yeah.
But like when you take other games that are like using alpha as an excuse and trying to use Minecraft's model, it just doesn't work the same way.
But here's the thing: like, it's a dog eat dog world in game development, and I've been there. I've had games that I've worked on, and you're in a situation where you have no money, no income. You're paying out of pocket for these things. So I think what a lot of companies these days are doing is they're raising hype by releasing their alphas. And you look at a game like Tug, or a game like which is another game that I'm actually really excited about, by the way. I see their development is constantly happening.
Yeah.
New improvements, and I'm just like, every time I see something, I'm blown away. But getting back to it, them and a few other companies, they charge, and Cube World was one of them. They charge you a fee to get into the alpha, basically to download their game. So that's a way of funding their project moving forward, because money is tight. Money is super tight.
Especially
well, it does a
for
lot of
indie
things.
developers.
Because not only does it give them the money to fund it, but it's free advertising. Because if you say, hey, feel free to let's play this,
Yes.
then it fills up YouTube. You get all that hype, and on top of that, the more people you have playing, the more finely tuned. If there's a bug in Minecraft, the community spots it right away.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows about it because there's so many players, and it was like that in beta too. So it's a great way to beta test, but you just got to keep in mind the pros and the cons of this method.
Yeah.
Definitely. Getting a whole bunch of people in there is a good thing in a way, but it can't be just to play the game the way that it should be. Like, that's not... I don't feel like game companies are... It's like I was saying, it's not a real beta test. And you got to kind of, as a game company, you got to take advantage of those tests, because that's the most important thing. A lot of really good, potentially good games have died because of bugs that were crippling to the game.
Right.
That weren't fully worked out during their beta test,
Yeah. Let's move on to Mog. What games are you into?
Right. Well, okay, so Poet brought up how he finds games that he's excited for. And so something I've realized is that if you I don't log into Steam very often either, and so you get bombarded like Poet said. But one of the cool things that I've found you can do is go on over to the Steam Greenlight and check out the games that are trying to get the green light, and go in there and be part of that community, because that's like where you get the real indie stuff.
Oh yeah,
and that's where the really new ideas are. And
it
when you're in
wasn't
there,
so much
you can
the case at PAX, or sorry, it wasn't much the case at Minecon, but at PAX, I ended up meeting quite a few developers from the Greenlight projects, from different games and stuff.
Right.
And that was really awesome, because those games are exciting. Yeah.
Right. And so that's, I mean, other than that, I never stay on top of the game scene very much. I'm not a console guy. I've always been a PC guy since Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 on my Windows 2000. So and that's when I was a kid. I'm probably the youngest of the group. Actually, we're probably the same age, HiBoy, but
Will do.
Regardless. So I've always been a PC gamer, so but games I'm excited about playing. Poet mentioned the Stanley Parable, which I'm doing on my channel, but I'm probably not going to do much of it. Because not only is it a short game, but I want to give people the opportunity to try it out themselves.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm enthralled with it. It's awesome. It's everything that I love about games, mixed with like my love of interpretive literature. That's why I'm really into that game. And other than that, I think I mentioned before now is BioShock Infinite, which I still have not played, which I really want to play. I'll probably get it for Christmas, just because I try not to spend money on games, because like you said, Poet, my Steam is just hundreds of games that I've never played, and I probably will never play. From these
I know. I'm just the worst for that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got BioShock Infinite. I've got Assassin's Creed 3. I've never played either of them. Assassin's Creed 4 is out now, I think, and I haven't played that yet either. Oh, it's just a disaster. But
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just I'm still in high school, so kids in my high school, some of them are into indie games or like in my programming class. That's where you hear about the really good games, you know?
Yeah.
When all the nerds get together in the high school and just start talking, that's when I know what to start playing.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. Like, you just can't trust advertisements anymore. You know, like, word of mouth is the best way to find games now.
Yeah, especially
I can't remember the last time I was swayed by an ad to see a game like that one for the PS4 right now. I watched that
God.
ad for the PS4 and I'm just thinking like,
The song one,
why?
right?
Why?
just a perfect day.
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just that doesn't make me want to go out and buy a game. It certainly doesn't make me want to drop $500 on a console or something.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Ads are useless to me. Just so useless.
Yeah.
Especially after, things that get hyped like Sim City, for example.
Oh,
you
man.
can never be too careful with because I mean even that word of mouth screws you over there too. So you just got to be
That
careful.
goes back to the whole comment about beta testing kind of bit them because I think it was bugs that crippled that game.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
and the servers were
Yeah.
not up to par. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's a classic mistake. Like even switching, really going off topic here, like politics, like stuff like I heard about some sort of thing with Obamacare, which doesn't really apply to you, Poet, but how they drastically underestimated the server size and no one could get in there. And then the same thing happens when you're trying to apply for colleges on the Common App. It's
Yes.
like you'd think that more companies and organizations would know that servers can only handle a certain demand.
Yeah.
It comes down to price, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally about price, and I'll tell you why. Because I've been on the other side. I've been the company that hosts servers, and we face situations where my company needs a server to do something for the public, okay? And we know or have a worst case scenario that, hey, 65,000 people could log into the server at one time.
Yeah.
But the best case scenario is that probably only 3,000 people will be on at one time. So do you spend the astronomical amount of money to buy a good server that can support 65,000 people? Or do you buy the very reasonable server, but still expensive, that can support 3,000? That's kind of... It comes to that situation, and I think more often than not, companies, governments, different games like Sims and stuff, they just look at their price point and say, we can't afford to invest in that. And that's kind of, it makes sense in a way because, if they invest a huge amount of money and they only get a handful of people in, then it's a waste. But
Right.
it's tough. It's tough. It's really hard to balance it. I don't hold it against them. I don't blame them for that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's all about like just living up to the hype, really. Like if people have expectations, you gotta meet them.
Yeah, that's true.
That's-
That's true.
That's another
They
reason
should
why.
know better.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why I like indie games so much, is because you have no expectations going in. Like, how could you possibly know what Stanley Parable's about? Right.
Right.
Well,
Going
and
into
that's another reason I loved it, and that's what I do with movies, books, pretty much all media I consume. I go in with absolutely no idea. The other day, I was on YouTube and I saw Milby was playing the Stanley Parable,
Yeah.
and I watched the first 10 seconds of it, just the menu screen, and I was like, oh, I'm going to look up this game. So I looked it up and saw the reviews, and the reviews were, we can't tell you what it is, you just got to play it. So I immediately bought it. And then one of the reviews said, it's like being John Malkovich. And so I said, what the heck is that? And I looked it up, and it's a movie, and so I watched
You
that.
haven't seen the movie?
I
just
haven't
watched it
seen the
last
movie
week.
either, so
Man,
It
you
was-
gotta watch. That's a classic, guys.
It was amazing. I love that
John
movie. So that-
Malkovich is a genius, by the way.
Yeah. Oh god, that was awesome. I love that movie. So that's how I like to find things. Just no idea what they're gonna be about.
yeah. I mean, isn't it interesting? Like, you play games like Braid or Stanley Parable or Minecraft, and you can't really tell people what it is. Like, if you're trying to describe Minecraft to someone, it's like, oh yeah, it's like cubes, and you like craft stuff. Like,
I was trying to tell my dad about it today while we were raking the lawn, because he's curious, because that's all I do with my life, right? So I'm trying to explain it to him, and he's like, oh, so it's like the Aztecs. They don't have technology, but they build big structures. I'm like, well, that's the most creative explanation of Minecraft I've ever heard.
Say that's actually very accurate.
Yeah,
I know. I was
like, kind of weird way of putting it, but
yeah. So I don't know. It's funny.
But like, I was thinking about indie games a lot recently, so I actually decided to go myself on the Steam Greenlight and just look up a bunch of games, and a lot of them just sucked. Like, I just didn't like them at all, and I came across one that was so ingenious, and it had this awesome trailer, and it's called Another Perspective, where you are yourself a character on a platforming game, but there's another version of you, and you could switch back and forth and control each character, but each character has a different perspective of the platform world. So one side will see one certain type of platforming map, and the other perspective will see a completely different platforming map. And I just found that so ingenious. So I emailed the guy, and he let me have a review copy, and I am so excited to upload it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it will be like, if he touches up and polishes it and things like that, it will be like the next Braid.
That's kind of retro, actually. I'm sure you're probably not aware of it, but back in the 90s, back when platformers were like new, there were actually quite a few games out there. I probably couldn't mention their names these days, but I remember games, and especially like when 3D was a new thing.
Oh yeah.
Like moving from the 2D world to the 3D world, there were a lot of games out there that tried to go like, we're in a platformer, and then suddenly you get into a situation, or you flip a switch or something, and then you're in the 3D world, and then you flip another switch, and then you're top-down view, and like there were games that used to do that all the time. It's not new in that sense, but it sounds interesting, and like you get to perceive yourself differently. That's kind of quantum mechanics there.
Well, and it might just be me, but I've noticed that as a pattern with indie game development, is that all of it lately seems to be really cool games designed around one little gimmick. Like, I don't know if you guys have you seen Scale? It looks a lot. It looks a lot like Portal, but there's a gun that scales objects, and so
they were showcasing it at Minecon. Yeah.
Right. And there's stuff like that. There's a bunch of examples like Braid, or there's a million of them, but it seems like that's where indie development has gone, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you explore certain concepts and it comes up with completely new things. Like, I was playing this one indie concept game. Like, it was just a concept to test if people would like it. It was this game called Super Hot that was super creepy, but it was a FPS where things only move when you move.
Huh.
Oh, I saw that. Right? Yeah.
And it's not like walking backwards makes you go backwards. It's just literally every time that you move, it will move in real time. So
right.
And it was a first-person shooter, which I've never seen like a first-person shooter like that. So like what I've seen is that like a bunch of indie games take certain concepts, like you said, and then they apply it to regular games. So it's not just the FPS anymore. It's just a crazy, like, insane thing. And like Another Perspective isn't just another platformer. It's a completely new invention. It makes me super excited, like, just to see all these things happening.
So we've been talking a lot about oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that I think that games have evolved quite a bit in that sense. Like, I'm thinking back to the days where I started playing games, and it literally was just like, you have 5 different platformers and they're all very similar. I'm thinking, like, there was 2 specifically that I used to play a lot of, was the original Duke Nukem and this one called Biomenace. And they were like virtually the same game, but we didn't care.
Right.
We wanted more of the same game that we liked, And that was kind of just it was easy when you were a game developer back then to like, okay, well, we're gonna make a platform. Okay, copy paste. Now let's create a character. Okay,
Change up
that
sprites.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, change up the.
Or
Okay, instead of a blob, we're gonna have a marshmallow and call it a day.
even all the 3D platformers, like, you know, when those came out, like Banjo, Kazooie, and all the ones with
Crash
yeah,
Bandicoot, man.
Spyro the Dragon,
Yes.
and there's one with
Mario
the fox.
64.
Mario 64 was just, man, that was a game.
I did love that game.
Nintendo
Yeah.
does make their money appropriately.
Well, speaking of consoles, though,
Segway.
so yeah, what were we going to talk about? PS4, Xbox One.
Thoughts?
Evolution of the console.
I don't really even have that much to say about it, to be honest. My attitude with this whole new generation has been just, I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, people just get so worked up about certain things, and I'm just waiting to see what happens. You know?
I mean, for me, I know that you guys all feel pretty similarly because, hey, we're on the internet, but we've all kind of transitioned from console gaming into PC gaming.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I don't know your reasoning. You guys can jump in whenever you'd like, but my reasoning for why that happens because the value of the game changed. Like, I don't care about graphics anymore. I want crazy new concepts. And the way that I find games with these crazy new concepts is on PC. Because I could just download it, and they don't need to follow any specific model, and I could just play it.
Right.
And I think the taste for gaming is starting to change now. From being like this realistic picture that's almost like real life to more just dynamic games with new concepts that you've never seen before.
I think the Wii is actually like out of the consoles because they took a step back and kind of said we don't care about the graphics, we care about the concept of like motion and doing things with the different things. That's why it blew the others out of the water when it was released. It was just kind of because I think largely people are starting to agree with you, HiBoy.
Yeah.
Right. Well, despite the Wii U's terrible marketing, I have heard a lot of good things about the weird controller and some funky game mechanics with that. So you're thinking ahead, you know? That's what needs to happen. Because you're right, that's what it's been. It's the Wii makes the Wiimote, and then the PlayStation, you know, Sony and Xbox follow suit with Kinect and that little thing with the ball on top for PlayStation.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Wand ball.
Wand ball, yeah.
PS wand ball.
But yeah, so for like I said at the beginning of the podcast, for me it's not really been a transition to PC. It's been that I've always been a PC guy ever since I was a kid. And then, you know, all my friends had an Xbox 360, so I got one, got some games, found out they were all really expensive. I had my fun with it, and then went back to PC for good, pretty much. You know, that was my run with consoles, pretty much.
Yeah. Poet, you have the most experience with consoles.
Yeah, I got a lot to say about that because for me it was different when I was a kid because we had PCs, but we don't have PCs like you think of today, okay? We had like the gaming on a PC was completely different than the gaming on a console back when I was a kid.
Minesweeper.
Because the console experience was arcade. Taking the arcade from the giant cabinet arcades to your home. That was what a console game was with Nintendo, with Sega, with Atari and all them. You were playing games that you would play. You could go to the arcade and play those same games, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Street Fighters or things like that. You could play those at the arcade, come home and play them on your little console. And that was kind of like everybody had to have one because everybody wanted that gaming experience that the arcade had.
Yeah.
When you go to the PC, that's where you found more of the puzzle games. The first-person shooters were all there. You had a lot of the text-based quests.
Right.
It was very much taking advantage of the text on a computer back then. It was a completely different experience. So to be a gamer in both worlds, like myself, it was just kind of I never associated them as the same entity. Like, I'm doing gaming. When I sat down at the computer, it was like just something on the computer that you're doing.
Yeah.
When you sit down at a Nintendo, it's definitely gaming. Like, you can't do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of, you got to keep in mind that consoles way back in the day, back before they were, gaming systems, were marketed as computers.
Mm-hmm.
Personal computers.
Really?
Oh, yeah. In fact, most consoles back in the day could do more than just play games. Playing games was sort of this subset of it. Mm-hmm. And they evolved with the NES. When that was marketed first in Japan, they kind of flopped because they were trying to market it as a PC, and nobody wanted to buy a PC that could play games.
Yeah, they wanted a game-playing machine.
Yeah,
basically.
they had to market it to North America with a robot, and then people started to buy into it. It was kind of, But
Imagine
yeah, for
if
me,
the NES flopped.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think they underestimated the gaming market.
Oh.
Like, people said there was this time where consoles died. Nobody wanted to invest in them. Nobody wanted to make them.
Mm-hmm.
A whole huge amount of Ataris came out for no reason at all. And nobody really wanted to play PC like games back then. Nobody said that nobody's doing that. That's stupid. Don't do it.
Right.
Save the arcade games for the arcade. But I think they underestimated the people that wanted that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can remember my cousin and I, especially, we're about the same age, like wanting more games for the Atari, wanting more and having nothing. And, there was this need that NES just came in and filled. It wasn't that we didn't want it or that it was dying or dead. It was, I'm surprised that nobody came out sooner. I'm not surprised at all that NES did well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked that it struggled as much as it did in the early years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was down to marketing. They were marketing it as a PC, and they should have kept to the arcade system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something
Entertainment
that's obviously still a problem for Nintendo.
I mean, now it's kind of shifted the other way for consoles, is that they're turning more into entertainment systems.
Yeah.
Where they have all the Blu-ray and all that kind of stuff in them. And I don't know. I think it's kind of... For me, I don't play console games because, number one, the cost of a console. I've wised up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I bought all the consoles up to PS2, and I mean all of them. All of them. Between like
Dreamcast.
Jaguar, Atari, and and the PS2, I bought all the consoles. All the Segas, all the Sega CD and 32 and the expansion packs and with the SNES, I had the Super Game Boy attachment and all that kind of stuff, and like I had it all. And then it came to a point where I realized I'm spending money on a system that'll be obsolete before I even get the game. Like, first, there's only a certain amount of games that are available for it, and that will ever be available for it.
Yeah.
Backwards compatibility is always an issue. Piracy is never a possibility unless you mod it, and it's like it just gets to the point where PC games had it all. I had a great graphics card. The graphics were actually better at the time, and I mean, it was kind of like, why am I spending $500 or more on the console and then $60 per game, and then
even the games themselves are cheaper for PC.
Are $30 to $60 each, and then this expansion. Oh, and my brother wants to play. Well, now I have to buy a whole other set thing for him, and it's just at the end of the day, I've spent $1,000 on a system that will be expired in 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
So I wised up pretty quickly with that, and I mean, I've been running this PC for a couple years now. The last one I ran for about 5 or 6 years. You can upgrade it easily, play backwards compatible games. There's open source games, there's indie games. There's so many platforms for gaming out there, and of course the ease of recording to YouTube and stuff like that is just kind of, it's where it's at. Why would I go back to a console? It doesn't make sense.
I mean,
It's always if you're in a console, if you like consoles, you're taken by a company. That's what I kind of amount to.
I was always taken by the social aspect of it. Like back before there was online play, like you look at game consoles like the PlayStation 1 or like GameCube, and you go over to your friend's house to play with them.
Yes.
And what I noticed was that as it transitioned onto like an online network, that element of friendship and that connection with other people kind of started to fall away.
That's why I like I was saying, I was excited for Mortal Kombat Collection. You know why? Because when I was in high school and when I was playing that game, it was me going over to my friend's house to play with his, because I didn't have a copy of Mortal Kombat. He did, you know. I'd actually go to his house bringing my SNES controller to play Mortal Kombat, and like that was the social experience.
Yeah. And God, yeah. Like my brother and his friends and my friends playing GoldenEye on the 64.
Me too. I played that too, and going to my friend's house on our lunch break during school and playing GoldenEye, it was like a social experience,
Right.
Everybody in the same room experience.
So that's what I'm wondering. Like, I'm just wondering who's gonna drop out of the race, the console race, like. Or what's going to change, because it almost seems like these three big companies are too big to fail. Like, no matter what wrong moves they make, it doesn't make a difference because, everybody needs these consoles.
Yeah, I feel like Wii U just didn't market themselves correctly at all. Like,
and if this had been back when, like, if this had been like with Sega, Nintendo would have died, but it's not like back then. The market's too big now.
Yeah. I mean,
so they're not going anywhere.
I look at what the standard game developer wants now, like EA, and whoever follows their model is most likely to be most successful, because I know lots of people who give no craps about how the games are being made. They're like, I just want the next Call of Duty. Just give me the next Call of Duty.
The next Halo, the next Call
Brand
of Duty.
loyalty,
the next
Yeah, and the
Grand
thing is,
Theft
there's
Auto.
millions of gamers that are like that. So I don't know if
Millions.
that's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Like I said, too big to fail. There's just too much loyalty from on the market for any of these guys to go away.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
I think the first time that really happened that I can remember was with Final Fantasy.
Oh, man.
I mean, I'm just trying to think back to when the first time that I can remember everyone, and by everyone I mean like everyone who would buy these kinds of games that I would communicate with, when there was a time when we were waiting for the next one, was I think it was during Final Fantasy era. Like Final Fantasy VII specifically came out, and everyone was waiting for number 8. The second that 7 came out, everyone was waiting for 8. I think that was the very first time that I can remember that we were really waiting for it. Because, I mean, other games had sequels. Lots of games had sequels. Even, like, the most iconic characters, like Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario, had sequels. But nobody was like, ooh, I can't wait until the 4th one. It was like when Final Fantasy came out, everybody was like, oh, I can't wait for the 8th one. When the 8th one came out, oh, I can't wait for the 9th one, It was just, that was the beginning of it. Sony was the one who really kind of picked up that one.
Yeah, I mean, hype is the driving force in the console gaming community, really.
Yes, it is. It is totally 100%.
It's all about the expectation. I mean, people looked at Black Ops 2 and they were like, so amazing. And I looked at it and I was like, it's the same game.
Yeah. So. I mean, I have something to say about the whole Call of Duty thing. I mean, I was a fan of the original Call of Duty.
It was a great
World
game.
War II games up to World at War. I was a huge fan of Call of Duty. And even the first, was it Modern Warfare 1? Or was it, what came out first? What was the first one? Not Black Ops. It must have been Modern Warfare. The first Modern Warfare I even played and was like, oh, this is a pretty good game, But at that time, I thought it lost what it was made for, and it was just focusing on the weird storyline that I didn't care about. I didn't care about any of the characters.
Right.
The graphics were incredible, but again, it's like you were saying earlier, HiBoy. I don't care about the graphics anymore. I want to play a game that's entertaining to me or that looks impressive. Like not as far as graphics go, but like is mind blowing in a way.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of that is that the game gets so big that a lot of the original site is completely lost. You know, you can afford to hire a billion more people working on this, and you have so many more teams and so much more direction that whoever first came up with the game and its core concepts, that's completely lost. It's like when a TV show is on for so long that the writers move on and the new writers just can't compare.
Yeah.
It's that same sort of pattern. So I think, you know, that I'm sure that's just what happens with a lot of games like that.
But there
I mean,
is hope. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at games like The Last of Us and BioShock Infinite, which you guys all need to play that game. But
Far Cry 3 even, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like you look at games like that and they're able to follow the business model. Great graphics. But they have this understanding that gamers' tastes have changed and we're not just going to eat whatever you give us. So story becomes a huge thing there. So I feel like PC gaming is going to be the experimenting field where new things are kind of thrown out there and whatever works and whatever doesn't. And then console gaming is going to be where you get that narrative, like where you get those stories that you could really eat up. At least that's the hope. That way both can actually
that would
exist.
be, I think, hopeful, wishful thinking even.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it seems like the best games that have the most success are always for both console and PC. Like those that style of games with the good graphics and the nice story, like the BioShock series, or it always seems like they're also for PC. So I wonder, like if I wonder why. I guess
I find it pretty upsetting when I think it comes down to a price point again, where game companies know that money is going to be made with a console game. People can't pirate the game as easily, and because of the hype that consoles generally have, people will buy it. So there's dedicated, guaranteed money if you release a console game. What really upsets me is when a game company doesn't release synchronously a PC version or none at all.
yeah.
Grand Theft
None
Auto,
at
the
all.
new Grand Theft Auto, release a PC version. I don't care if they say, well, we will, but get on it. Why isn't it released like the same day?
Yeah.
Because that to me is upsetting. As a PC gamer, I shouldn't have to wait to play a game that has been out for a year already, simply because they're building up their price point
I mean,
Yeah,
really,
on a
and-
console.
it's keeping
what's the
their
reason
industry
for it?
alive.
Huh?
I'm sorry, Mog. You can go.
No, I'm
sorry.
just saying, like, what's the reason for it? Like, why? Because you'd think they'd just make more money if it was on both.
It's to keep
Well,
their industry alive. I mean,
Development cost and the cost they get from PC games probably isn't that great.
yeah.
That's why a lot of the really indie games are on PC, obviously, is because they don't care about the money as kind of a rule.
I mean,
It's about developing the game. Whereas a game company, they want to make money. And so if they're just going to break even on a PC, they're not going to really go for that. Why? You know, yeah, it'll boost their image and the games will be very popular and people will hype it even more the next time around. But in order to get to the comfortable nature of that, they can't waste money on development of a PC game.
I mean, I
guess.
think about what makes consoles still alive. Like, what makes it unique versus the PC gamer? It's basically exclusives and the controller. And for me, at least. And when I look at PC, the reason why they wouldn't do that is because their industry would literally die. Like, PC gaming has gotten so popular over the past, like, few years that the moment in which the console ceased to have an upper hand over the PC, everyone's going to switch. Like, it's just going to be like that because there's so many benefits to it. And it's already happening. But when you look at the console, like, business model where games have to pay licensing and then, PlayStation is and, like, Microsoft essentially, like, distribute these games to the people, it's a very well established and efficient model that can be completely overturned the moment that the PC gets a fair fighting chance.
I think a lot of it has to do with the parents. As funny as that sounds, coming from like an IT job where I dealt with people who are in the parental age range, I think that you'd be surprised at how many people are still inept when it comes to technology.
Oh yeah.
And when it comes to your child wants to buy a PC to play games or to do that kind of thing, a parent doesn't know. A parent doesn't know what to do in that situation. And to be honest, companies like Best Buy are just making it worse by selling the garbage that they sell.
Alienware.
Claiming that it's really great. And it's just, it just makes it very difficult for the parents to grasp what their children need to play these games. When you go to the store and you pick up literally in a nice little package a game system.
Right. Yeah.
Done.
You want a game, the kid goes to Steam, the parent goes to GameStop.
Yeah.
Because what is Steam? Like, I'm sure my parents hardly even know what Steam is. And in fact, I know that because
tell you for a fact don't even know what a computer is. So it's really, if they were to go out and say, "Oh, well, we want to buy you a game system," they're not going to go to the store and start building a PC that's capable of playing the latest, greatest games. This is just not going to happen. So I think like our generation is much more aware of what is needed and what is required, and we've lived with it and we've done it. So our children will have the benefit of PC gaming, maybe even first.
So guys, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that we like to talk about games.
Yeah.
Do you know how long we've been going?
We've been going for about
Probably
50
an hour.
minutes.
Okay, so I don't know if we want to move on, wrap up, or
Should we talk about the partnership policy?
Oh yeah, maybe.
that
touch on
would be
So-
a nice thing to end on.
This is a quick little thing about what we do and we get paid for.
Yeah.
Yeah, so take it away.
Okay, so I don't know how. I know probably the most about it. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say I know the most about it because I've
Yeah, you
talked
do.
with.
I don't
actually
know what
talked
it is.
With, at Minecon, they had the former director of partnerships there, who was actually doing a panel for something completely different because now he's the guy in charge of the way that YouTube looks in general. I have a feeling that he's the one who is responsible for the new comment system, for example.
Screw that guy.
Or at least his team was kind of, involved in that.
Right.
Because I tweeted him out the day that system came out, and I was just like, fix it. But I talked to him about it. I've talked to the director of partnerships from my network, Curse, about it, and I've had answers back from both of them. So basically what's happening on the 18th of November 2013 is a new way of partnering members on YouTube. So we all know that this changed back in April 2012, where they stopped giving full partnerships to people.
Right.
Now they only give it to people who are associated with a network, right?
Yeah.
Like a multi-channel network, MCN, as they call them. And it's changing again, sort of, in a way. On the 18th, there are going to be a couple things implemented. Number one is that if you are with a network, like I'm associated with Curse, HiBoy, I think you're with who? Fullscreen?
Let's not talk about it because
You're with whoever, okay? And Mog, you're with RPM.
Yes.
We will have the option. It'll be right in your, I think in your video manager or analytics or something. There's going to be a button that starts the process of disassociating yourself with that network.
Wait, so I could legally just leave?
Well, the
It
thing
depends
is,
on the contract, right?
That's exactly right. So YouTube is going to provide a button where you can say disassociate with network to kind of get the ball rolling. And they say they won't get in the way of any contracts, but they want that button there so that their members have an option of at least for their freedom. So that's the first step. The second is going to be the way that people are partnered. Right now, if you're associated with a network and I get a copyright strike, the strike doesn't come to me necessarily. It comes to the network.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the network is aware of your strikes. You get a strike, you're out basically. 3 strikes and your account on YouTube's closed.
Yeah.
I guess what happened is there was this massive lawsuit that happened. Some guy was sued by a company, and the company didn't just sue the individual, but because he was associated with a network and the network wasn't controlling his content, they sued that network. And that became a very big problem. I think it actually was full screen, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be very mistaken, so I'm not going to say. But this network basically started working with YouTube for a way to give their networks more flexibility. So what's going to happen, there are going to be 2 different kinds of partner. There's going to be a managed partner and an affiliated partner.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
It's good for you. Like, big channels like you, Poet.
Well, here's the thing, okay? And I'm going to get into the whole thing. A managed partner is a partner where your network takes on your responsibility.
Yes.
So I post content, and the network claims it, and if any copyright strike happens, it hits that network directly. The network is going to have a set number of copyright strikes that they can have. I don't know what that number is. I can imagine that it's pretty high. But probably what will happen then, if you ever get into that situation as a managed network, you would be kicked from the network immediately. And maybe even barred from ever being a managed partner ever again from who knows whatever other networks out there. But that's where everybody wants to be, because right now we can post gameplay, our networks claim it, and we don't have to deal with content ID fraud and copyright claims against us. It was a big deal when I was just getting started. Probably 2 in every 5 videos that I would upload would go under review by YouTube's automatic system.
All the time.
Either they would sit there in limbo and never go out of review, or they would be reviewed and say, well, we aren't sure if you have copywritten content, so please provide a license. And I'd provide a license, and then it would go under review limbo for another 6 weeks. It was just kind of ridiculous.
Right.
You join a network, and all of a sudden, everything is going and good and monetized, and you're getting money for what you do. It's rewarding.
Yeah.
An affiliated partner will go back to the old way.
Oh.
Where now content has to be reviewed.
Dang it.
And this is kind of bad for those of you who are thinking of switching networks.
Right.
Especially in a few months, Mog.
Yeah.
Is that I've had word from Curse specifically that most partners will remain managed. I don't know what they do say most partners, so I don't know which will stay affiliated. I really don't know. It's hard to say. They won't say anything yet. But I have a feeling that just about every partner will be a managed partner. Copyrights, the contracts that you sign will still save the network from copyright strikes and stuff.
Right. Yep.
So I have a feeling that it's in the network's best interest to make everyone managed.
For Curse.
For Curse, for any network. Why would I join a network if I'm not going to be a managed partner when I still have to deal with the content reviews?
Because you got scammed into a network that locks you in for 3 years?
But the thing is, that's the only benefit right now to being in a network.
Right.
That's the thing. I can't walk away from my contract. Like, my situation is very unique. But I got screwed over by this partnership company. And I'm stuck with them for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And I've been okay with that. I came to terms with it. Like, I've already gotten past the pissed off point. But I know that the management within this network is bad.
Yeah.
So at the point in which I know that there's a network that doesn't have my best interests in mind, I mean, they locked me in for 3 years, right? And I'm only getting half the AdSense money.
Right.
And that really scares me. That scares the living crap out of me.
Yeah, because now there's a chance that if your content goes under review, let's say that your network that you know is not managed properly, puts everybody into an affiliated partner because they don't want to deal with copyright issues. what does that mean for you if only, say, let's say 75% of your content can even be monetized then? You know?
I mean, it makes a big deal for me because all of a sudden I lose rights as a result of this.
Yes. Number one,
Yeah.
you lose rights. Number two, you're losing income. You know, it might be just a little bit of income, but it's income that you're losing.
I mean, I've been really glad and blessed. I mean, yesterday I got my paycheck for September.
Yeah.
It was $12.50. That's the most I've
Wicked.
ever been paid. So I went and I bought the Calvin and Hobbes documentary and I watched it and I had a great time.
That's
Right.
cool.
But like at the point in which I just don't want my videos to not get posted online because of some bullshit network, excuse my French, that like doesn't have my best interests and doesn't give a crap about me. Like I'm just a number to them. You know.
I mean, the thing that I liked about Curse is that the director of partnerships literally added me on Skype and wanted to talk to me, you know? I was a human being when I joined them.
Right.
And it was kinda-
especially after coming from your last network, that must have been incredible.
Oh, it was bad. Oh, it was bad. I could go on about that. That's a different topic for a different day, I think.
Right.
But yeah, basically, to sum it all up, there's going to be two different kinds of partners. You're either going to be managed or affiliated. What I said is it's going to be bad for those switching because Curse especially has just said that new partners will go kind of under a probationary 6 weeks where they will be affiliated.
Right.
And then if I guess they don't get any copyright claims in those 6 weeks, then yes, take them on. Which is smart. I mean, they're protecting themselves that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And it makes sense for most networks to do it that way. But ultimately, they have to make the partners managed, or there is zero benefit to being with a network.
I mean, how do you get partner direct? Does AdSense give you only a percentage of your stuff?
Oh, you get 100%.
Because the thing is, from most networks, they don't even protect you. So I've noticed that a lot of the larger channels have just been going independent.
Well, they can't protect you against certain things. That's one of the
Right.
biggest issues. Is that when it comes to like takedown notices for gameplay footage, a lot of the networks cannot do anything about it. They can go to YouTube and say, "Hey, that's not right," but YouTube is more willing to say, "Let the courts take care of it if it's not right."
Right.
You know,
And
they're not
it's
lawyers.
It's all so sticky. It's almost getting to the point where something's got to give. The laws or the entire medium of making videos and or let's playing specifically. And let's play the demand for let's playing is becoming so large that really I'm not thinking that's going to give really. So it's hard.
In a perfect world, there would be a medium more like television where I could go and create content and a network pays me to produce their show because I'm a talent for them, and then they can have sponsored ads on my videos that they find. We don't necessarily need YouTube to go in and take 45% of that revenue as well.
Right.
But, I mean, that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
If there was a better system out there, I would switch to it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I mean, we can always wish for change, but what we got is what we got, and we got to push for what's better.
I've looked at different video websites out there that offer monetization, and usually it's in the form of like a tip jar, and that's just not reliable enough to live
Right.
off of. So
I
it's
mean,
kinda-
YouTube's hardly reliable enough as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
But this is just like to let everybody know about what we're going through right now as far as like partnership policy changes go. It'll affect how we make videos, whether we make money on the videos or not. And I think, depending on how people get partnered, this will weed out a lot. Unfortunately, it'll weed out a lot of great Let's Players out there who just don't want to do it anymore because they're not making money anymore.
Yeah.
It'll be unfortunate.
Well, that was a very light note to end on.
Yeah, right?
But thank you, gentlemen, for doing this podcast.
of course.
Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Yeah, this is a new channel.
Stuck
but
with us. Congrats, you win a prize. No, I'm kidding.
Have we chosen the email for this new channel? Have you already created it?
So I'm gonna make a channel, and I am going to post the information about it and give it to Drew and all that good old stuff. But yeah, it's going to be a RedCube network.
Okay. So we can maybe not this episode, but in the next episodes we can ask for questions or comments.
Yeah, I mean,
to the email, or
if you guys have a topic that you want us to talk about, put it in the comments. I mean, Google Plus kind of
the comments are really the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Google Plus kind of screwed us over.
Nah, it'll be fine.
I like the new comment system actually.
Mog, you're about to get like you are going
Bob
to get
the
like
Tank
grilled.
Army is coming for you, Mog.
Yeah,
know,
Bob's gonna kill me now.
Oh god. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and I guess that's it. So, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.